College District will come to order. The board met in closed session and took the following action. In closed session, the board unanimously took action to release 2 academic administrators pursuant to Education Code 72411 and 72411.5. Roll call, please.
Dr. Selvage,
Here.
Dr. Fellow,
Here.
Mr. Osterling,
Here.
Ms. Brown,
Here.
Mr. Hilsman,
Here.
Mr. Martin,
Here.
Ms. Waugh,
Here.
Ms. Garipian.
Here.
Trustee Brown, will you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Gladly. Please stand and put your hands across your heart and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America,
and
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Approval, reordering of agenda items. Does anyone want to reorder or delete any agenda items?
If not, motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Introductions and recognitions. Do we have any, Mr. President? Trustee Martin? Trustee Martin has completed the Excellence in Trusteeship program of the Community College League of California. Given Trustee Martin's long service, I think he could have written the book on it. But in any case, congratulations on your official recognition by the league for your accomplishments.
Very much. For Martin, we'll do an official picture. It's nice to have one fan, Martin. After 38 years. Oh, I get a pin, too. Thank you.
All right. Got to turn around
So-
for another picture.
Oh, we have another picture. Oh. So, 2 fans. See, if I live long enough, I might get up to 12. No, so thanks. I want to take this moment to recognize someone who doesn't get any recognition, who really made this all possible. Because there's some, as always, criteria for these things, and things that count and things that don't, and I had kind of given up on it. But somebody had faith in me and kept it going, and that was our board secretary, Mary Thompson. I'd like Mary to stand, because if it wasn't for Mary, this would not have been possible if it wasn't for her and her support and working through with the league, different things that would count. So she does a lot for us on the board. I think we all know that and appreciate it, and she sits there quietly every meeting. So thank you, Mary, and thank you.
Do we have public comment on items not on the agenda?
Yes, we have one speaker tonight. He's our most prolific member of the public to attend. Martin Enriquez, the stage is yours. I'll give you a 30-second warning.
Thank you. Good evening, honorable trustees and assembled persons. No matter how important an endeavor or the work to be done, it is a good thing to step back for a moment and reflect. I will continue my correspondence with this august governing board with the goal of the continuous improvement of this spectacular public institution of higher learning, the reflection of a job well done. In the hurly-burly of daily activities, one can be distracted by the cacophony of competing ideas and views. At the previous meeting, this body praised Trustee Linda Waugh, I think rightly, for her presidency and her accomplishments of this place. I echo those sentiments. I will read two quotes which should be kept in mind for the challenges faced by the collective leadership of all those involved in the governance of the superb place, my alma mater, Pasadena City College. Where I read, judge, and court, I see trustee and board of governors, the board of trustees. While it is proper that people should find fault with their judges, trustees, when their judges fail, it is only reasonable that they should recognize the difficulties. Let them be severely brought to book when they go wrong. But those who will take the trouble to understand them. This was by Judge Learned Hand. The first quote, Felix Frankfurter said, "Judges as persons or courts are institutions and are entitled to no greater immunity from criticism than other persons or institutions. Judges must be kept mindful of their limitations and their ultimate public responsibility by the vigorous stream of criticism expressed with candor, however blunt." I've been perusing this, job well done, and for your presidency, I can capsulize it in 2 words, top notch. Good going. Honorable Trustee Linda Waugh. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Enriquez. No further public comments.
Thank you. Approval of minutes, January 18, 2017 board meeting.
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Advisory vote?
Aye.
Votes? Passes unanimously. Consent items. Approval of S, I, and B consent items. Do I have a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Advisory vote?
Aye.
Trustees? Passes unanimously. Approve non-credit CPR scholarships. Consent item. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I think we have approval of student travel.
Oh, excuse me. Oh, excuse me. Oh, whoops.
We've approved
Yes, we just
S,
did
I,
that.
and B already.
Yes, okay.
Oh, we've done that, I'm sorry.
We've already
That's
approved all
wrong.
the consent items.
Right. Okay, authorization,
No, we have to do consent P first.
P.
Yeah. Next is P.
it's
Item
it's
G.
a little bit hard to follow in paper and on the screen. Okay, yeah, consent item P. Okay, consent item P,
That's in Paul.
personnel, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve items P.
Second.
Advisory vote?
No advisory.
Okay. All in favor? Opposed? None opposed? Passes unanimously. Action items recommended for approval. Authorization to transmit second quarterly financial status report.
This is a routine item for us to transmit the second quarterly report to the Chancellor's office.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Advisory vote?
Aye.
Trustees? Passes unanimously. Sabbatical leaves, 2017, 2018.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Advisory vote?
Aye.
Trustees? Passes unanimously. This is, public hearing is next.
Public hearing, number 3.
Okay, number 3, right.
Right.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14. We have 14 items, action items on the agenda. We will deal with each one separately. They all relate to the the beginning stages of our collective bargaining this year. I will read each one, and we will vote separately on each. Public hearing regarding the additional sunshine proposal for negotiations for the 2016-17 academic year from the Pasadena Area Community College District to the Pasadena City College Faculty Association.
Move approval.
Second?
Second.
Open the hearing first.
To open the hearing.
Hearing.
Oh, okay, so I'm opening the hearing.
You open the hearing and then nothing is closed.
And close for each
Then,
one?
then we approve. Then we go to the next one, we approve it.
We have a hearing on all of them?
Okay.
Not that, that's just receive.
You open the hearing here. Open
Yes.
the hearing.
Yes.
And then close the hearing. And then we approve and we receive it. The motion to receive and we receive. And then we open the second hearing, we close the second hearing.
I open the hearing,
Close it.
so there's no action item. And then there's a motion on this. Got it. We will now receive the initial sunshine proposal for negotiations for the 2016-2017 academic year from the Pasadena Area Community College District to the Pasadena City College Faculty Association. Do I have a motion?
Move approval.
We have to open the hearing.
You open the hearing first.
I thought it, okay.
Your gavel, open hearing. Is there anybody who would want to speak about it?
Oh, okay. Opening the hearing for the negotiation between Pasadena Area Community College District and the Pasadena City College Faculty Association. Do we have any public comment?
Hit your gavel.
Close it.
The hearing is closed. Now, we are receiving the initial sunshine proposal for negotiations for the 2016-2017 academic year from the Pasadena Area Community College District to the Pasadena City College Faculty Association. Do I have a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Advisory vote?
Aye.
Trustees? Passes unanimously. Opening the public hearing regarding the sunshine proposal for negotiations for the 2016-2017 academic year from the Pasadena Area Community College District to the California Federation of Teachers, Local 6525. Is there any public comment?
Open the hearing.
I just said open the hearing. Yeah. There's no public comment. We'll close the hearing. The hearing is closed.
Motion to approve.
Motion to receive.
I'll second.
Item number 6, receive the initial sunshine proposal for negotiations proposal from the Pasadena Area Community College District to the California Federation of Teachers, Local 6525 for the 2016-2017 academic year. Do I have a motion?
You already have it.
Second.
Who gave the second?
I did.
Okay.
Mr. Trustee Hilsman.
And advisory vote?
Aye.
Trustees? Motion passes unanimously. Opening public hearing regarding the sunshine proposal for the negotiations for the 2016-2017 academic year from the Pasadena Area Community College District to the to the California School Employees Association, Chapter 777. Is there any public comment? Hearing none, the hearing is closed. We will now receive the initial sunshine proposal for a successor agreement from the Pasadena Area Community College District to the California School Employees Association, Chapter 777, for the 2016-2017 academic year.
Move to receive.
Is there a second? Advisory vote?
Aye.
Trustees? Passes unanimously. Open public hearing regarding the initial sunshine proposal for negotiations for the 2017-2018 fiscal year from the Pasadena City College Faculty Association to the Pasadena Area Community College District. Do I hear Is there any public comment? Hearing none, the hearing is closed. We will now receive the initial sunshine proposal for negotiations for the successor agreement for 2017-2018 from the Pasadena City College Faculty Association to the Pasadena Area Community College District.
Motion to receive?
Is there a second? Is there any discussion? Advisory vote?
Aye.
Trustees?
I think that one, I apologize. That one is for, I believe, Police Officers
Yeah,
Association?
this should be the
Please,
POA.
Yes.
POA.
Let's go back and open the hearing and
Just one at a time. Which one did I
number
get
9.
out of order? We were on this?
Yes, you said.
Thank you, Dr. Norman.
Oh. Faculty Association, too.
This one.
We haven't done that yet.
It's the police association, right?
Yeah, we're on number
Yes,
9.
It's the Police Officer Association.
We're on number 9 right now.
Oh, okay, I took that out of order.
Right.
Also, are the years being read correctly? Because I think we keep reading 2017-18, but it says 2016-17.
It should be, we're negotiating the 16-17.
Okay.
I read items 11 and 12 out of order. I should have read items 9 and 10 first. So I will go back to item 9. And I will open the hearing, public hearing regarding the initial sunshine proposal for the negotiations for the, it reads, 2016-2017 academic year from the Pasadena Area Community College District to the Police Officers Association. Is that the correct year?
That is correct.
Correct. Thank you. Any public comment? Hearing none, the hearing is closed. We will now receive the initial sunshine proposal for negotiations for the 2016-2017 academic year from the Pasadena Area Community College District to the Police Officers Association.
Move to receive.
Second.
Any discussion? Advisory vote?
Aye.
Trustees? Motion passes unanimously. Now, in the proper order, I will open the public hearing regarding the initial sunshine proposal for negotiations for the 2017-2018 fiscal year for the City of Pasadena, for the Pasadena City College Faculty Association to the Pasadena Area Community College District. Do I hear any public comment? Hearing none. Hearing is closed. We will now receive the initial sunshine proposal for the negotiations for the successor agreement for 2016-2017 from the Pasadena City College Faculty Association to the Pasadena Area Community College District.
Move to receive, but it's 2017-2018.
2017-2018.
Yes.
Excuse me.
The years reflected are what was provided to us from the association. So that's why they're written in a different format.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, that's
Second.
helpful. Any discussion? Advisory vote?
Aye.
Trustees? Motion passes unanimously. We will now open public hearing regarding the sunshine proposal for the negotiations for July 1, 2017 to June 30, 2020 from the California Federation of Teachers, Local 6525, to the Pasadena Area Community College District. Do I hear, is there any public comment? Hearing none, the hearing is closed.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Excuse me, let me read it.
We're trying to move along.
Leave him alone.
Receive the initial sunshine proposal for the negotiations for the successor agreement for July 1, 2017 through June 30, 2020 from the California Federation of Teachers, Local 6525, to the Pasadena Area Community College District. Do I hear a motion?
Move to receive.
Second.
Any discussion? Advisory vote?
Aye.
All in favor? Passes unanimously. Public hearing regarding the initial sunshine proposal for negotiations for the fiscal year July 1, 2016 to June 30th, 2017 academic year from the Police Officers Association to the Pasadena Area Community College District. Any public comment? Hearing none, the hearing is closed. Receive the initial sunshine proposal for negotiations for the successor agreement for the 2016 2007, for 2016-2017 from the Police Officers Association to the Pasadena Area Community College District. Hear a motion?
Move to receive.
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
Yeah. Just a quick question. After we complete these, could we have Dr. Norman explain to us why there's different years for the different proposals?
Oh, we'll do it when we finish the vote.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I requested.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any further comment? Discussion? Advisory vote?
Aye.
Trustees? Passes unanimously.
When we put the year, we being the district, when we indicate the year, it's to open negotiations for the current year so that we can begin negotiations, which is what you are, we're required to do. So we have to open it so that we can start the process. Because we're in the 16-17 year is why the district reflected 16-17. It could be that perhaps one of the associations, kind of moved it out to the subsequent year, but it doesn't prevent them from moving forward with having negotiations with the intent being we're opening up discussion. Now, some of or at least one of the associations indicated a 3-year term. That's actually letting it be known that they are willing to look at a 3-year term, which is one of the articles that we have to negotiate, which of course we're not averse to. So that just addresses the next successor agreement timeline that they would like to negotiate. So it can be written in different ways, just dependent upon what their framework is. So typically, the district opens it for current year, and then we negotiate out from there.
Thank you.
Any other trustees have a question or clarification for the administrative steps we just took? Okay, thank you.
What?
We have several information items. Limitations, constraints on Prop 51 U-Building funding.
All right. Well, I'm going to ask Vice President and Assistant Superintendent Dr. Story to walk us through this. Dr. Story?
Thank you, Dr. Vernier. Governor Brown released the proposed budget for 2017-18 on January 10th, and the budget included funding for 5 capital outlay projects. The first project on the list was the replacement of the U building. So Pasadena City College is very pleased that it's on the proposed budget. The U building was submitted as a project to the Chancellor's office about 5 years ago as a health and safety project. There's different ways you can submit projects to the state. Health and safety project has the benefit of having a higher priority, and as a result, that's why it's being funded. Of the 5 projects being funded in the proposed budget, all of them are a result of health and safety issues. When a project submitted to the Chancellor's office and approved by the Board of Governors as a result of health and safety issues, there are certain constraints and limitations. I'm going to walk you through what those constraints and limitations are now, and following that, we'll look at the preliminary timeline we have for the project. So the constraints and limitations are really related to a project's size, use, the construction period, and funding for furniture, fixtures, and equipment. With respect to size, the assignable square footage of the building, of the new building, must remain the same as the existing structure. So the U building itself has 58,000 assignable square feet. The new building, the replacement building, will remain 58,000 square feet. It's important to note that although the assignable square footage will stay the same, you can change the size and number of things such as the lecture labs, the lecture rooms, the labs, the offices, and the meeting rooms. So we could reduce the number of lecture rooms and increase their size, or have more labs that are smaller. That's something we'll develop in the design specifications. With respect to the gross square footage, the U building itself is currently 81,000 square feet. We can increase the gross square footage, but only for ADA compliance items. So the U building, the new building, will be 10,000 square feet larger than the U building, and that's as a result of ADA compliance issues that we're correcting, larger bathrooms, larger hallways, things of that nature. Constraints related to use, the new building must be used for the same purpose as the old building. So the U building was used for natural sciences and allied health programs. The new building will be used for the same purpose. Construction period, if it's a state-funded project, we need to complete the project within 5 years. So we have a very tight time frame that we need to work with. In the next slide, I'll share with you a timeline for the project. Furniture, fixtures, and equipment, the state does not provide funding for that, so that's something that we'll have to identify funding locally. And it's anticipated the cost for FF&E could range from $3 to $5 million. There are some sources that we could use for this. Instructional equipment, which we've received over the last few years, could be used to fund furniture, fixtures, and equipment. And we can look at other general fund sources for that as well. We've already begun working with the Chancellor's Office to develop a preliminary timeline for the project. And I just want to note that we're talking about the proposed budget. So it's not signed into law yet. The proposed budget will go through several changes. We're very hopeful that the project is signed into the final law in June. And sources that I've talked to in Sacramento believe that it's highly likely that this project will be included in the final budget that's signed into law in June. But regardless, we're moving forward with developing a timeline. And first, we're establishing a user group. And the user group includes all the users, representation from all the users who will ultimately use the building. So faculty, classified staff, managers, students will be represented on this user group. And the intent of the user group is to vet different architectural firms to finally make a recommendation for which architectural firm we use, also to provide input to inform the design specifications of the building. So we've already begun the process of selecting users or participants in the user group. And then the next item would be select an architect. This will happen after the budget is signed into law. So we don't want to select an architect and enter a contract until we know that, the budget is final and that we will be receiving the funding. And then you can see the starting of the plans, completion of the plans, all the way through construction on the preliminary timeline with a completion date currently projected at August of 2021. So I just wanted to provide a look at the constraints and limitations related to the project as it's funded by the state, and also provide a preliminary timeline. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to address them.
Trustee Martin?
Back on the first slide, I think it was 58,000 is that's the footprint. That's the size of the footprint, and the 81 to 91 includes the gross square feet as in the number of floors multiplied by the number of floors. Am I understanding that correctly?
The assignable square footage is 58,000 square feet, and what that includes are classrooms, labs, offices, and meeting rooms. The gross square footage includes things like restrooms, hallways,
Okay.
that type of space.
So there's no requirements then as far as the actual footprint size?
No.
So you can make a thinner, taller, thicker,
Exactly.
shorter, and that's at the discretion?
That's acceptable, right. We could make that change.
Trustee Osterling?
Two questions. So on that same slide, the bottom item was the furniture, fixtures, and equipment funding not covered. Do you have any rough estimate at this early stage that funding that will not be covered, the FF&E?
The dollar amount I anticipate to be approximately $3 million, could go as high as $5 million.
$5 million,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And then question number two, we're not allowed to contract with the architect before this funding is approved, but are we allowed to put forth an RFP and take bids and so forth so that once the state approves this, we can spring into action quickly?
We can.
Okay.
We can start the vetting process prior to June 30th. We don't want to enter a contract because we can, but it would be on our dollar. Anything we spend before June 30th would come out of our general fund resources.
Thank you. Okay. Yes, Trustee Hilsman.
Yeah, just one point. I had spoken to Ruben at an earlier stage about this, and having served on a number of city commissions, including the Northwest Commission and the Economic Development Commission, I know that it's very important for projects that are constructed in the Pasadena area to use as much local hiring as we can, and I just would urge you to include in the RFP some of the local hiring requirements. My colleague is laughing, but...
Trustee Brown.
Well, I'm just very excited to see this. That's all I got to say.
We are too. It's very exciting for Pasadena City College. It's in total cost, it's about $63 million project. We're so fortunate to have it #1 on the list at the state level.
Trustee Martin.
And I know from our earlier, I was on the board committee that interacted with the facility master plan, that there is some strategic ideas in this shape of this building fitting into the master plan and not just making it the same old, same old. So I think it's important because I know the architects are going to assume the contract and need some direction as to how that might fit in the scope of the master plan and some other things we want to do.
Absolutely. I mean, this is a great opportunity for us. I mean, we don't have to build exactly the same building, and that's not our intent. We have a lot of flexibility as far as the number of levels, the footprint of the building, and we'll make it work with the campus in the best way possible.
Yes, Dr. Burdian.
For those of us who were in Sacramento this past weekend, we did hear that before the end of this week, there is a good possibility for us to know whether the governor will be selling those bonds or not. So good news is on its way.
Exciting.
Any other comments or questions? I've got a couple of questions. When I came on the board a little bit more than 3 years ago, I heard right from the start that, that building over here that nobody's in, it's all locked up and got a fence around it. We've applied for a project and we're at the top of the list and all that. And then the bond passed this last November, so it's very, very gratifying to see something perhaps coming to fruition. The things that we've been hearing were over these, past 3 years that I've been on the board, pieces. There've been sort of pieces, and I was hoping we could kind of bring it all together in a complete package. That's okay. We know a lot now, and here's what it is. And there's a very good summary. So thank you for that. I was just up in Sacramento with a few other people here from PCC, and so I know that every time you ask when, they say, well, that depends. And I was particularly interested in when we might be able to get this started, but it looks like being a line item in the governor's proposed budget, perhaps even though he doesn't like new debt, he'll sell some of the bonds so that he can get those high priority items, and we're #1. Let's see, question I've got, when is day one? When they say 5 years, when do you understand day one to be? And, when they're going to start their clock and say, okay, you have to finish in 5 years.
The 5 years would technically start as soon as the budget's approved. So we're looking at July 1. There's a little bit of flexibility. The state will work with us, but there is a 5-year deadline, and we'll be working with the Chancellor's office along the way to ensure that we meet that deadline. And I'm confident that the budget provided will meet the needs in completing the building, which is a total of about $63 million.
Yeah. Okay. I was looking here, and this is about a 4-year from, hypothetically this summer, so we beat the deadline by a year under this, or if they push back what they call day one, we still got leeway.
Exactly.
Okay. The Science Village, what happens to that? I heard some rumblings up in Sacramento that oh, if we get the money to replace the building, we have to tear that down or something strange?
Yeah, the way it works at the state, swing space, you're really not allowed to keep swing space permanently. There's things called load ratios, so you can only have so many assignable square footage based on the number of students that you're serving. So as soon as we complete the replacement building for the U building, technically we would need to remove all of our swing space. But the swing space it's a huge asset for us. It's very valuable space. If we were to receive funding from another source for another project, we would have a huge need for swing space. For example, if we passed another bond where we were doing renovation work, we would need that space. So we could take it out of our operating inventory.
And call it Swing Space Mark II or something like that?
Yeah,
for
and
the
we
next project.
could use it
Okay.
for a future bond as swing space. And swing space for bonds, it's a huge expense. It's probably worth about $8 to $10 million. I mean, if you're constantly renting, leasing, or purchasing swing space whenever you need it, it's a huge expense. So having that, it's a value to the district.
About how many square feet do we have there?
Ruben? 45,000 square feet. Yeah.
And that's basically all
Temporary.
classroom, what we call assignable space, pretty much.
Right. Yeah, classroom.
No corridors.
And labs, right.
Yeah, okay. And then finally, when you talked about the gross square footage, sticking with the 58,000 assignable space, but gross square footage would increase from the current 81 to 91. Do we have, excuse me, preliminary drawings or
We have preliminary.
concept stuff?
We have preliminary plans
Yeah, okay.
showing what the square footage is, and that's where we're getting the 10,000 increase. And that's been reported to the state. When we first submitted our plans to the Chancellor's office, it was as a IPP, initial project, and once it's approved at the Chancellor's office, we're required to submit a more detailed plan, and then once that's approved by the Board of Governors, it's a final approved project plan.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Osterling?
Two quick follow-up questions. You mentioned something about a load factor. I didn't get the term, the official term. And then it sounds like it's a formula, that's a relationship between our assignable square footage and our full-time equivalents?
That's true. It's called the load ratio.
The load ratio?
And it's a ratio of our square footage, our assignable square footage, to the number of students that we're serving. So you can't have too much assignable square footage and too few students. You have to be within the state parameters.
You know what that ratio is off the top of your head?
I don't have it off the top of my head,
Could
but
you follow up?
I can provide it to you.
Okay. And then lastly, in an effort to try to get this building that's been red tagged for so long back online as quickly as possible, is it possible to start the plans on July 1st instead of in November? In other words, working backwards, can we have everything ready and then not start? I understand we can't start the plans and contract or commit funds until after it's approved, but can we be ready to go on that date, or is that not possible?
We can be ready to go. This is a preliminary timeline. We can be more aggressive, and my intent is to be more aggressive. We're setting up the user group now, and the user group will actually be talking about what are the specifications, what are the requirements for the building. Ideally, we'd have an architect working with us during that time, guiding us, providing recommendations and guidance, but really we won't be able to have the architect in place until at the earliest July 1. Unless we want to pay for the architect on the district's dollar.
I would not recommend that we start any earlier than July 1. I'm just trying to find a way to start on July 1 instead of November. That's all.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
One last question from me. The state architect in the timeline here was 4 months. Everybody always badmouths the state architect when you can't get a project, designed the way you wanted or underway. Is that a realistic, or Ruben, is that?
It's a reasonable time, and we've worked with the Chancellor's office to develop this timeline.
Okay.
DSA approval. The Chancellor's Office guided us with this timeline, so
Okay.
we're comfortable with it.
Yeah, thanks. Well, this is a very, very helpful, very, very good summary. Thanks to you and Ruben. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Let's see. Okay, the next item on the agenda is a information item, Veterans Resource Center floor plan and completion timeline.
I'm going to ask Dr. Stott, is your lucky day today. You get to give us a second information item presentation. You are on again.
Thank you. I'll wait until she brings it up. So we've been working on a renovation expansion of the Veterans Resource Center for some time now, and I wanted to have an opportunity to share an update with the board, showing you what the planned, renovated, and expanded space would look like, provide you with a timeline, and also share with you information about the budget. So the first slide will show the pre-renovated space, which you'll see on the left-hand side of the screen. Was a total of 831 square feet. It included 2 offices and a large workspace area used for computer lab and things of that nature. If you look to the right, you'll see the planned renovated expansion of the VRC. You'll see that it's a large increase. It's going from 831 square feet to a total of 2,316 square feet. It will go from 2 offices to a total of 6 offices. It will also include a conference room, computer lab area, and increase in the workspace for students. There'll also be a storage area. So we're going from 831 square feet to 2,300, and just going to very usable space to serve our veteran students. Currently, we're serving about 800 veteran students, so it's going to go a long way to providing them with the resources they need.
Beautiful.
Any questions? Oh, I'm sorry.
And I have a timeline that shows the different stages of the renovation and expansion. One of the items was approved tonight, and that was the second item on the list, and that was the authorization to bid. And you'll see the different stages. We have a target completion date of July 14th.
Wonderful.
And the budget for the project is $450,000. That includes both outside contractor work, in-house work, furniture, fixtures, and equipment of $52,000, construction manager, and a small contingency of $4,000. But we feel confident that we can do it within this budget. So that concludes the update on the VRC. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Yes, Trustee Martin.
So this is an expansion in the exact same spot?
It's in the W building. It's in the exact same
And-
location.
So when we're looking at the additions of the office and the additions going to the left on the page, I don't know how to describe it, where
Right.
towards the storage, is that space that's currently under a roof presently, and you're just delineating walls, or is that?
We're repurposing the current space. Everything's currently within the building. If you look at offices 1 through 6, that's currently part of the shower room in the gymnasium. So we have excess shower space. It's not really used, low utilization. So we're removing some of the showers and turning those into office space.
Okay, thank you.
Trustee Wong.
Okay, so I'm a little bit confused. On the item that we approved on the budget, it says $218,000, but then this presentation says not to exceed $450. What am I missing?
Very good question. The $218,000 that was approved tonight was the first phase of the project, and that phase was to expand offices 1 through 6 into the current shower room. We will have other items that will come, but the total will be $450,000. So what was approved tonight, the 218, was one component of the total project.
And at one point, I thought, let's see, this little office that opens out, I think, to the exterior, I thought that was going to be a counseling room, but that's not any longer. It's going to be an office space. Did I misunderstand that?
I can speak to that. Office 6 is what you're referring to, Trustee Waugh. That will be a space for our psychologists, counselors, yes.
Okay. And just on the other side of that, can you tell me again, what is that space? Just right above Office 6.
Restrooms.
Okay, so the only access then for this VRC then is to go to those outside restrooms?
Right.
Okay. Okay.
Trustee Osterling?
Follow-up question to Trustee Waz. So the restroom and office number 6, you do not access through the interior VRC space, you go through some outside corridor and then...
That's correct.
Okay. And I'm really getting in the weeds here. This is one restroom, so we're not going to have a male and female? That's a single restroom?
That's correct.
That's a female restroom, but that's also utilized by the other people in the building, the W building.
Okay, so that's really just even though it shows up on the drawing here, is that not a part of the 2316 square feet? That's just an existing part of the building. That's a women's restroom that will remain that?
Yes.
Okay, and then, where would the nearest men's restroom be?
I want to verify if the restroom's part of the 2316. Ruben will answer that question.
Okay, thank you.
The restroom is not a part of the expansion in the 2316. The restroom is a reconfiguration based on us demoing a restroom in the locker room. We had to replace it. So we moved it north in the same building. So that restroom actually adjoins to the rest of the shower. There's an access through that that picks up the rest of the shower room for women. And then just down the hall north of that is the men's room.
Okay, those are those other two entry points into that restroom on the side and...
That is correct.
Gotcha, thank you. And then my second question is on the timeline. I had thought, and maybe I just was guilty of not understanding, I thought that we had already started this work, or we had moved out of the VRC.
We've moved out of the current space, and the VRC is currently in swing space in the R building, and we have demoed a portion of the prior space.
So the follow-up question then is if we've demoed, we started the demo before we had the plans and specs, because I'm seeing we're going to start the plans and specs later this month.
We're going to finalize later this month. We have the preliminary plans, which is the floor plan that you're
That we're looking at,
in
yeah,
front of you,
okay.
right? And we had the idea that we were going to expand, but we haven't done any demo in the new area that we're expanding into. We've only demoed the 831 square feet.
Okay, thank you.
Trustee Brown?
Thank you. I am pleased to see that we are moving forward with this long, maybe we should say overdue, expansion. We've been through a lot, but I think this is great. I love the square feet. This 800 just was not doing it. I think the veterans deserve this, and again, I like the time frame. I think if we just get it done, we will have some happy campers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Trustee Waugh?
So not to harp on the bathrooms.
That's okay.
Okay, so it is more than those 2 stalls that is available to them. I'm just wondering whether or not that's going to be sufficient capacity, and knowing that some of our veterans are disabled. Is that sufficient?
It actually matches the existing. Where Office 6 is, where the original location of the restroom. We basically have matched the existing based on the amount of uses that we have in that location. That seems to be adequate. We haven't had any complaints that restrooms aren't available in the area, so we've matched the existing, and we've met the need based on compliance.
And so, is there a lot of technology being put into this infrastructure? I'm just wondering if I guess the $450,000 for 2,300 square feet, is that sort of a typical square foot cost?
It's pretty extensive, the amount of demolition and repurpose because of the structural wall and what we're doing with the locker room. So that is somewhat of an expensive 220 repurpose because of that work and the amount of utilities that we're going to actually cap and reroute. So that's where you're seeing a lot of the cost. And then this plan does include technology with a expanded computer lab that you see within the 2,300 square feet of space, as well as in the conference room.
So when you say that there will be expanded technology infrastructure, it's just to accommodate a computer lab? Is that what we're talking about?
Well, the offices will be standard, typical offices, and you will have the computer lab, which houses the electrical and data, which is required for the center. But outside of that, there's nothing really specific that we can say that is driving the budget of the $450,000.
So you are saying then that that's just typical demolition and construction, that's a per square footage cost?
Yes, for the type of work that we're doing, it's standard.
Okay, because the type of work, it seems pretty standard. I mean, we're not doing anything, it's just demolition and construction.
It is demolition construction, but you have an expansion into an area where you have a load-bearing wall. So we're looking at making sure the engineering is right, the ductwork is right. It's pretty extensive in making sure that we have the supply and returns because of the existing space. What we have is the existing VRC, 831 square feet. With that expansion, we're expanding into areas where the ductwork was very different. So that infrastructure is a very type of different infrastructure to tie that in with the rest of the building while maintaining clearances to mechanical rooms, converting restrooms into office space. So you have a lot of demolition of sewer lines, making sure that we don't have any issues with air flowing back into the building, leaving a stale, stagnant air type of thing. So we're making sure that we're capturing all of that, rerouting the sewer lines and the vent lines back into the building or tying into other locations. So it's to me, it meets a typical industry standard for the commercial work and what we're doing, and that's why we're doing it in multiple phases to make sure that we don't impact instruction. So what you'll see, what's also driving the cost is the work that was actually approved in consent on, and that's work that'll happen from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. So you're paying premium dollars for that to make sure that all that noisy work does not create a disturbance for instruction.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I've got just a couple of questions. The existing VRC, the drawing on the left, shows the workspace in the two offices. Is that located approximately where the computer lab? And
Exactly.
Okay, that's it. It's that corner, just
It's that corner.
built out and everything. And I've been to the VRC. I know we've got two offices and we've got two people there mainly. Why do we have 5 offices? That's excluding the counseling office that enters from the outside?
Yeah, I can answer.
5 rather than...
Sure, I can answer that. So we will house our 2 staff members. However, at this point in time, our veterans benefits processes occur in the L building and admissions and records. Our visiting psychologists use the offices also in the L building. And our veteran service providers, we rotate them out of one of the existing staff members' offices.
In L?
In the existing VRC, so we displace one of the counselors or the classified staff to house the veteran service provider for the vets. This expansion will allow us to provide a central location for a true one-stop shop for our veteran students.
So this these activities relating to our veterans that are being done over there, they're going to be done here.
Correct.
Excellent. Okay. Thank you very much. It's good to see the whole thing coming together and a timeline. I attended a meeting of the California Community Colleges Veterans Caucus up in Sacramento, and we just acquired some information on how many colleges had VRCs and what size they were, and I think this is going to be sort of the top of the line, the front rank of what is available to veterans.
It will be.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
The next information item relates to the update on the California Voter Participation Rights Act, the sequence or the timing of our elections.
If you take a look at your packet, there is a one sheet that has some dates on it. It says Board Agenda Item 1.3, February 1, 2017, Timeline for Implementation of California Voter Participation Rights Act. As you all know, in December 2016, we filed with the Registrar's Office to have the election of the members of the Board of Trustees moved to June of even years. This item has been agendized on the supervisor's meeting agenda for February 7, that is Tuesday of next week. By February 10, we will be informed officially by the Registrar's Office as to the action taken by the supervisors. Our understanding is that the Director of Operations will be recommending that the Board of Supervisors accept our request and that we be allowed to move to the June even year elections. Now, if this is approved, because it hasn't happened yet, even though we've been told that that's our recommendation, we have to wait, and if the Board of Supervisors votes for approval, then in March we will have a resolution to determine the start day of the office itself. Once you get elected, when is your official start day as a trustee? So there will be a resolution that will be brought to the board here for discussion as to when your official start day will be. Our counsel, Warren Kinsler, will be here, and in open session, we will be discussing that.
This is if it is
If it is approved. If it is approved.
Yes.
Now, if it is not approved for June 2018, then we will have to file for the November election of an even year to be in compliance with the California Voter Participation Rights Act. So the deadline to file for moving that election to November 2018 is Sunday, March 12th. Now, Sunday, the office is not open. Our understanding from our counsel is that he has been informed that we could file on the 13th, but we do not want to take that risk. He has told us that we should be filing it for Friday, March 10th, even though they've told him that we could file it on 13th. There's always a risk. We will therefore have to call a special meeting with a 24-hour notice before March 1st so that he can get that resolution passed and he can go forward and file it for the November of even. Now, if our request is denied for the November even year is denied, well, you never know what can happen. Assuming it is denied, then elections will be held this year in November 2017. You all know that at that point you will need to go to the website, vote LA Vote, right? LAvote.net to get all the information that you will need as to when you will be filing and so on. But we will have here at the college, in March or April, we will have to bring a resolution to order the biennial governing board election. That we will have to do in March or April. And then in May, we will have to bring another resolution on the method of payment that will be accepted, and also on the word limitation for candidates' statement.
Mr. Osterling.
So this was an item of some discussion back at the meeting where we went through all of this. And basically, we had a 2-by-2 matrix, and by that I mean we had either June or November, and then we had either at the earliest possible date or the latest possible date. And after considerable discussion on both elements of that 2-by-2 matrix, we ended up with the June date and the earliest, and there was discussion and good reason why we selected June versus November and early versus late. And I would like to, it was stated during this information item that you just went through that if we're approved for June 2018, we're off and running. But then it says if we're not approved for June 2018, then we file for November 2018, and I don't believe that that's the vote that we took. And the reason that that we would be rejected for the June 2018 from the registrar's office at the LAXTA meeting that I attended, where we went through this in detail, is due to a technology issue and a capacity issue at the registrar, and the point being that I would like to see us, if we're not approved by June 20, and the registrar's office told us that they really weren't capable of taking more ballots on until 2020. And so the point is if we're not approved for June 2018, I would like the vote that we already took for the June to continue on, and then we would go to June 2020.
Well, let me address this. So, one, if it is turned down, the board is welcome to do whatever the board wants to do. You will, that action will be brought to you. You can determine at that point whether you want to do a resolution for November even year or not do anything. But all you need to know is that if it is not accepted by the Board of Supervisors, if you do not file anything by March 12th or 13th or 10th, that's a play on numbers at this point, or 3 days difference, there will be an election this November 17.
Understood.
I will say so. Everything else is a decision by the board that the board will take at either the March 1st meeting or the special meeting that will be called with 24-hour notice.
Understood, and I would like, this document here doesn't reflect what we voted, and again, I would go back to the vote that we already held, and if we're not accepted for June 2018, then we would go to June of 2020.
This document is not an official document of the board. This is just a what-if scenario. The only part that we know of facts are the first three items. December 16, we filed.
Yeah.
February 7th, the Board of Supervisors will vote, and within 74 hours, we will notify. These are the only three facts here. Everything else is a what-if scenario.
Correct, and I think the what-if scenario that's laid out here is, it was presented as if this is not approved, then we must do that, and I don't think this is what we must do. I think we should stick with the vote that we already had.
Trustee Osterling, it will be the call of the board at that point.
Okay. I think we've already spoken.
Well,
Trustee Hilsman?
Yeah, a couple of things.
And we're not discussing an action item.
Yeah,
Understood.
just quickly
General discussion.
to Jim's point. My impression would be that if I'm not correct, Mr. President, if the Board of Supervisors does not approve our resolution, then it seems to me we can go back to the drawing board and decide whatever we want to decide. Is that correct?
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And then the second question I had is, if we if our deadline is by March 10th, let's say, and we receive notice from the supervisors sometime in mid-February, then we should be able to roll this into our March 1st meeting. Is that correct?
No, we will have to, at that point, we will have to call a special meeting before the March 1st. Our council says that March 1st is cutting it too short for them to be able to do their work.
I see. I'm happy to attend. Thank you.
Right. I've looked at this pretty thoroughly, and yes, we looked at the June versus November, and we looked at the doing it at the first cycle opportunity or the second cycle. So we had 4 different choices there, all of which were legal. If it turns out that the choice that we selected and asked the county to approve doesn't happen, and we don't act right away to take a particular one of those other options, we're going to have the election this November, and which means basically we'll go through another, other jurisdictions, they're going to go through another cycle, and then it's the next cycle where the trustees, in our case, would get either a 7-month or a 12-month extension of their term to synchronize. And nobody's looking at the matrix here, I know, but it's a little complicated. Basically, if we are told that the county doesn't approve and will not be able to or doesn't want to cooperate, we'll need to ask them why. If it's technical, because, well, for this ballot in 2018, there are technical or logistical reasons they can't accommodate us, but they could in another June, then that'll be part of the information we'll have in hand. Right. But we'll need to get that right away.
We will need to get all that right away. And then, but again, as we said, regardless, if nothing happens by the 10th, there will be elections in November of this year.
Correct. Yeah. We will, however, protect ourselves one way or another by having our safe harbor resolution for some solution.
Yes.
And it'll be based on, in part, presumably, on what the county has said if they turn us down.
Right.
I just hope they go along.
Probably nothing will happen.
They'll
Probably nothing will happen because we were told that the recommendation is for the board to vote yes on
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you. It's very helpful. Announcements. Oh, excuse me. Superintendent President's report.
When you approved the personal consent item today, you also approved an interim director of upward bound position. And that position is going to Mr. Will Sims, who is in the audience today, Will. And other thing we have to say about Will is that perhaps 2 or 3 of you at this table here will be very proud to know that Will was today accepted in the doctoral program at some school in Southern California.
That be UCLA, sir?
Cardinal and gold. Cardinal and gold colors, like PCC, just like PCC.
Well, I would like to start my comments today by saying how proud I was of our trustees in Sacramento this weekend. Our trustees made the whole district proud of the college, proud of what we do, because of the nature of the questions they were asking in Sacramento. It showed that they are keenly and deeply interested in student success and what we do in this district. I want to thank you for the contribution that you made over there. Trustee Wah, Trustee Osterling, and Board President Dr. Selvage. I'm also proud of our students who were there. Suffice it to say that we were one of 2 or 3 districts who encouraged our students to be present in Sacramento, to lobby our legislators so that our students can have the best education in California and in the nation and in the world. We have posted some pictures of our students and our trustees and staff attending that meeting. A great thank you to Mr. Alex Buckle-Hyde for coordinating that trip and scheduling all the meetings that we had in Sacramento. I would like also to share with you that we have corresponded with our students regarding President Trump's executive order. We are now aware that about 10 of our students have not been able to come back to the country, and we are in touch with them, our counselors, our advisors, the acting director, the assistant director, rather, of the international program, Miss Amy Yan, is doing everything she can to get in touch with all of them, and I have offered that I will make calls to our legislators in Washington, and if necessary, we will ask our trustees to also make calls to the appropriate legislators in Washington to help our students get back to Pasadena so that they can continue their education. Yesterday marked the first meeting of the Advisory Council on Facilities and Educational Master Plans at the college. 3 of our board members were there, Trustees Martin, Osterling, and Board President Selvage. And it gave us an opportunity, college administration and trustees, to listen to what our constituents have to say, to what our students have to say, to what our faculty and our staff members have to say. So it was a very informative session, and our next meeting is scheduled for April, and we look forward to use the information we received and the information that we have to share with our community what we will be doing with all that information and how we intend to proceed. The Veterans Service Center co-sponsored an event featuring former Massachusetts First Lady Kitty Dukakis, who spoke about her experience with electroconvulsive therapy. An audience of women veterans heard Ms. Dukakis share her personal story of recovery using the treatment, which could benefit veterans who suffer from a range of mental challenges. This coming Saturday, our financial aid office will be hosting another installment of the successful Cash for College seminars we have held in previous years. This is a great chance to complete financial aid paperwork, and the seminar takes place from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m., and I hope you'll be able to share that information with all your constituencies. On Saturday, February 25, the President's Asian American and Pacific Islander Advisory Council will host its annual symposium designed to help members of our community learn about what it means to attend PCC, and the day will include an overview of academic programs, financial aid opportunities, and everything else that we do so well at Pasadena City College. Our enrollment numbers are looking good. For the winter intersession, we are at 87% capacity. For spring, which will start in 3 weeks, we are currently at 85% capacity. When you look at our enrollment compared to enrollments in other parts of the state, we are looking very good. We must say we are significantly ahead of most other institutions. We have identified a commencement speaker in the person of Julissa Arce, who just wrote the book, My Underground American Dream. Julissa has been a leading voice in the fight for social justice. She is a regular contributor to CNBC and the Huffington Post. She is the chairperson and co-founder of Ascend Educational Fund. She had achieved the American dream of wealth and status as a vice president at the Goldman Sachs firm while she was still an undocumented person at the age of 27. Our students, our staff, our faculty, our guests will be in for a great treat at commencement this year. And this concludes my report.
Thank you very much, President Verdian. We are now on announcements, announcements by shared governance representatives and Board of Trustees. Do we have any announcements from Associated Students?
Hello, good afternoon to the board. I'm truly in shock after hearing Dr. Verdian actually speak about several students that are personally affected by this past weekend's legislation, or lack thereof. It just goes to show how much more we have to do, especially as a student in an elected position. be a voice for our students. So I think being at CCLC was a great step in that direction. I was there with Trustee Grapian as well as a few members of our lobby committee. And speaking face to face with our legislators is nothing like, sending an email. It's really being there, giving your own perspective and saying, something needs to be done. And I think that there's so much more we can all do. I know that Associated Students just underwent Safe Zone training, which was wonderful. We had a winter retreat, and we were all given previous information about LGBT and undocumented student legislation, as well as how we can be better equipped as allies for students on our campus that have been historically marginalized, especially through this administration and the policies they're pushing. So I think we're very proud of the work we're doing, and we're very proud of our campus and the messages Dr. Verdian and our trustees have sent through our resolution. And so we'll continue that fight, and thank you for your support, and we're going to fight till the end for this one. Thank you.
Okay, Classified Senate?
Good afternoon. The Classified Senate is currently working on our Classified Day that's going to be held in May, and we're trying to finalize our keynote speaker. We're also working on a publication to send out to classified staff regarding professional development funding that's available, because right now they're not utilizing that, so we're going to get it out to all the classified staff to say that there is funding out there available to use it. And also, we're working on getting more people to contribute to the food bank. So we're going to send out information to classified staff to also participate in that. And that's about it. Thank you.
Is this the food bank available for students and
It's
staff?
everyone,
So
everyone.
our food bank is for anybody on the campus?
Correct.
Good, thank you.
It's for students.
Oh.
For students, but the staff are working on getting contributions
okay,
for the
I
food
understand.
bank to support students.
Correct.
Thank you, thank you.
And we have no report this week.
Thank you very much. Student trustee.
I just want to take the moment to echo some of the remarks by Julia Russo, and in addition, I do want to thank the board for giving me the opportunity to attend CCLC this weekend. I was really glad to have had the chance to also bring additional students. As Dr. Verdian did say, we were one of the few colleges that did have that many students. Everyone was really surprised and proud to see us there, and it was really great representing PCC and kind of being there to talk to the people that we always hear about. We always hear about their bills. We hear about all of the things that they've been doing for us. But it just felt great, shaking, for example, Assemblymember Holden's hand and telling him personally, thank you for all you've done for our community, because I know he has been a great contributor to the success of PCC. And I hope to continue maybe attending future conferences. I know there's a couple coming up. And yeah, I just want to overall thank you all, and just a quick shout out to Alex. It wouldn't be possible without you, so thank you so much. Yes, that is all.
Trustee Brown?
No report, thank you.
Trustee Hilsman?
Yes, a couple things. We had a very productive meeting of the PCC Foundation's Communications and Marketing group, and we were developing, and thanks to Alex Buckelhide and his team, developing a campaign to support a marketing and communications campaign to support the capital campaign coming up. The other thing, and I also mentioned Alex again, you may have seen in his report information about the OER initiative on campus, and there were some very impressive statistics. I wanted to thank Walter Butler, Julie Kiotis, and Thea Alvarado for their work on this. The statistics that I saw, and by the way, I really would urge you to take a look at that. I think it went out to all the staff. To look at the information, it's very comprehensive. We have a really terrific OER PCC site, which is quite in-depth and informative. One of the things that I picked up there was that 53 faculty have adopted online educational resources. in 84 sections, and that the projected savings for students for that is over $300,000. So if you think about it, that's a $500 scholarship for 600 of our students. So I'm looking forward to the time when more faculty will adopt this. There are webinars that you can link to that give you information about it, so I would really urge you to spread the word about that. Finally, I want to say I was equally disturbed by what President Verdian had to say about our 10 students. I wanted to commend the president and the students for the work that they've already done on this. I know you're going to be committed to it. I would urge you to reach out to other community organizations that are involved in this. I'm sure you've already done that, but they're probably members of the board, including myself. They'll be happy to kind of network that with you. The other thing is Dr. Verdian, I believe, mentioned that, or perhaps you did, Julia, that we could reach out to our legislators on behalf of these students. And I'd certainly volunteer to do that. I think that if you can give us if it's acceptable to give us their names and their situation, I think that we can, as a coordinated effort, work on this. I know that our congressman who represents part of Pasadena, Adam Schiff, who you'll see on TV a lot, I would imagine, as well as Judy Chu, could be very helpful in that regard. So I understand the deep concern that we have about what's been going on, and I applaud the continued activism of our students in that.
Trustee Wah?
Well, once again, I want to wish everyone Happy New Year. So this is the year of the rooster, so good luck for all of those roosters out there. I also wanted to commend our own PCC administration, Dr. Verdian and Dr. Olivo and Director Buckelheid, for really helping our students. You know, every year, I think PCC always brings the largest contingent of students. And, you know, while that, you know, some may say that's may not look at it as positive. I mean, I think that every time we have gone to any of our legislators' office, they have always been very impressed with our students. And I really think that it shows a commitment to building the leadership of our students. And kudos to our students who just did an outstanding job in articulating the issues. They talked about OER, they talked about the transit, and they really about the waiting list and really having good, strong direction to get through and for student success. So great leadership from our students, so thank you. Also at this CCCT, there were a couple things that happened. So we had the CCCT board meeting, and there were two presentations. Some of it was talked about under the talking points. So the Chancellor's Office is pushing the guided pathways, which Dr. Verdian and his administration have also been working on. So I'll be sending information out on that. And then we also had a presentation on streamlined curriculum approval. So I think that's really exciting. I think especially for the workforce and the CTE pathways, where we really have industry that's really pushing for rapid change and ensuring that we have curriculum that is relevant and is technologically relevant, and that we are agile in putting that curriculum forward. So I think that's really exciting. We also had a joint caucus meeting, so that's the veterans, the Asian Americans, the African Americans, and the Latinos. And we are planning a plenary program for the Tahoe Conference in May. So for those of you who are planning on going, I hope you will attend. I think it will be the first session that we will have of that type, and we think it's going to be really exciting, and we hope it will be relevant to everyone. And then as we prepare for the ACCT National Legislative Conference, I want to thank Dr. Verdian and Alex for helping to get those appointments together. And so while we know there isn't going to be a lot to talk about with our representatives, we've decided to go in as a coalition, so Citrus, Glendale, LACCD, and any other colleges who want to join us are going in as a coalition to talk about the California agenda. So I think that's going to be really exciting. And last of all, some of you know that I was in D.C. for the march, the Women's March. And and I think that we had some really exciting things happen here in L.A. But Trustee Osterling put a little bug in my ear, and I hear that we might have a closet pussycat among us. So I wanted to make sure that we had a little memento to commemorate that. So with that,
I think it's customary to bring back a gift and present it to our president.
Dignified. Very dignified. I appreciate it very much.
so I hope you wear that proudly.
Alex, did you get a picture of that?
And that is my report.
Burn it.
My wife will be very pleased that I'll be bringing her this chapeau and perhaps a couple of, you understood that word, I hope, and perhaps a couple of chocolate chip cookies. Yeah.
You're supposed to wear that for the rest of the meeting.
I know I'm supposed to, but I'm not going to. Trustee Martin.
There you go.
If I had a report, I would immediately just withdraw it. I know what not to follow.
Trustee Osterling.
I do have a report. Thank you, Trustee Wah. So I also joined the Sacramento legislative meeting that we had this past weekend, and I noticed something very interesting when we were meeting with Senator Portantino and Assemblymember Holden and other Assembly members. When the boring trustees started opening their mouths and talking, the senators and Assembly members were yawning. And when our student trustees started to speak, all of a sudden they perked up and took notice. So we had a great student delegation led by our student trustee, Nune, and our president, Julia Russo, and they really were effective representatives for PCC, but also for the community college system. And they really hammered home that the cost of a community college education is not the student tuition, but it's the total cost of education, and that includes transportation, housing, food, and books. And Sacramento seems to be listening and understanding. Assemblymember Holden has proposed AB 17, did I get that correct? To help support transportation costs. We had a presentation by our legislative analyst for a proposal that's still in formation to cover food and housing costs, and we also, they're looking at expanding and supporting OER. So that message is getting through, and thank you to our student trustees for waking up our representatives up there. And I also noticed that in Sacramento, they're starting to pay attention to the fact that our PERS and STIRS obligations are increasing dramatically, and somehow, some way, those have to be covered. We don't have any solutions identified yet, but it's finally made it onto the radar screen, and that's good progress. And we actually had a technical discussion of FON, F-O-N, by our superintendent, faculty obligation number, and he was asked to submit actual draft language for legislation to fix that.
Done already.
Yeah. So I think the importance of going up to Sacramento and Washington later on and actually meeting face-to-face with our representatives was underscored by the success we had up in Sacramento. And then lastly, I'm very pleased that we've restarted the facilities master planning process, and with a meeting last night that was well attended and a lot of input from all the constituent groups. Thank you.
Trustee Fellow.
Thank you. I just wanted to echo what Trustee Hilsman said about the publicity committee meeting of the foundation. But I do want to add, I was told a poll was done to see who would be the most popular figure to lead the fundraising campaign for PCC, and it turned out to be the former president, Jack Scott. He's still a very popular figure in the San Gabriel Valley, so we're very happy with that. I do also want to say I will not be with you in the first March meeting. I have to be in Washington, D.C., and I'm going to be spending some time with our new senator and our older senators. I'm looking forward to that. Thank you.
I just have a couple of items, but first, those of you who are listening to these other comments may not have noticed, but Trustee Hilsman just passed me a note, and he's informed me where I can get "Make PCC Great Again" embroidered on the hat in a pleasant white font. Is that correct? That's where you get yours done?
Absolutely,
Trustee
Trustee Sullivan.
Well, thank you. I'll follow up on that immediately. This
I don't know how to hurt a guy, you know?
You're next. This weekend is the Red, Black, and Green Honors Dinner, conjunction with Black History Month. Excuse me. A special service award is going to be awarded to Trustee Brown, Dr. Bell, Gina Lopez, Dr. Price, Ibrahim Nareem, Joe Perone, and Beverly Tate. And a number of us will be in attendance. That would be great to see. I'd like to mention that up there at the meetings in Sacramento, at a couple of the large meetings where you have a presentation and then people in the audience go up and step up the microphone, and a couple of times Jim and I were sort of on the opposite sides, and he'd hit one, and then it was sort of like a tag team, and then I'd follow up with another question just to reinforce it. We're not shy. Also, people up there have really taken notice of the impact that the CalPERS and CalSTRS adjustments in contribution rates are going to have on our budget and their budgets. It wasn't my phrase. It was theirs. They said, we're going to go over the PERS and STRS cliff. Well, it's all going to be part of what we are going to be working hard on this spring and through the summer to come up with a good budget that takes that into account. Part of it's still unknown, what the rates are going to be, but we're going to work hard on that. And that concludes my comments. We have a list of proposed future board business meeting dates in the folder. Are there any comments or observations, suggestions from the trustees? Trustee Watt.
I just wanted to remind the board chair that normally we do have some retreats, and one of them is for the goal setting with the president and also the evaluation of the president. So we might want to, I think it's helpful to do that early on so we have some dates rather than wait until later.
Right, thank you. Any others? Proposed future agenda items. Do any trustees have suggestions for future agenda items? Hearing none, this meeting is adjourned.